up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with a few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. You are tuned into the Drive-In Speaker Box podcast. It is Monday, July 15th. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. We are broadcasting live. I'm your host, Bo, the boom operator.
I'm Slick Doggy, the grip.
And we've got another show for you if you are just now tuning in for the first time. Thanks for joining us wherever it is you like to tune in, be it subscribing over on Twitch like Vince just did.
3 years.
Month sub. Thanks, Vince.
Killing it.
Or you can check us out on Facebook Live, YouTube, or just download this wherever you download podcasts. Just search for the Drive-In Speaker Box podcast. But it's a lot more fun when you tune in live. You get all this excitement. We've been already in the pre-show for the past half hour talking to our friends over on Twitch. You can get up on that as well if you follow us over on Twitch. And you can get into the Discord. It's just go to driveinspeakerbox.com. You can find all the links of how to get involved with the show, and the conversation never stops. And we do watch-alongs once a month and lots of fun stuff there. But this week, like we do every week, we're going to talk about some movies. We're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about people that died. We're going to talk about new movies that are coming out this weekend. We're going to talk about movies that came out last weekend that we watched last weekend that we're going to talk about now. It's just a chock full of movies. It's like a Chips Ahoy cookie, but with movies. And less like artificial flavorings and additives. But Jake, did you see anything this week?
I didn't. So actually, last week after the show, I woke up Tuesday morning sick AF.
No.
Yeah, so Wednesday and Thursday were extremely painful, difficult days for me. I have spent my time since then not doing anything. Resting and sitting still and trying and drinking nothing but like Pedialyte and water.
You even brought some.
Yeah.
Like, look at this.
Yeah.
Electrolyte.
Yeah.
Is this like the Walgreens brand of Pedialyte?
It's like the gas station Pedialyte.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Strawberry
so that
kiwi.
I could be better and be here today.
Dude, it has 6 ions.
Yep.
Like full-on ions. Electrolytes, it's what plants crave.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that. Yeah, I do have plans to go to movies this week, especially it's Ghibli Fest right now.
It is. Mononoke is currently in theaters. It was packed the other day. I was going to go see it, but I went and saw Maxxine instead. But all the seats were sold out for both showings. And that movie, what was it, like Robot Dog or Robot?
It had a single showing.
One showing.
It had one showing because I looked at it and I was like, oh, I kind of really want to go to it. But it only had a single, it was like a... It was, like
that was a 2 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
No, it was like a 2 or a 4.
Something.
It was a stupid showing. And I called them and I was like, hey, are you guys going to show this again later this week? Because I really want to see this movie. And I've been waiting for this movie for a while.
It had like one showing on one day.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah, I know. I saw that because I was like, we should go see this. But it was a single showing on a single day. So
Made me mad.
Yep. And then what we got? Longlegs.
I saw that.
There was Maxxine, but that's been out for like a week or two, right?
Maxxine, it was the second weekend. Longlegs came out this weekend.
And then there was one other new movie. We also did get Hindustani 2 or one of its many other titles. We got Indian 2 in all 3 major Indian languages. We got it in Tamil, Telugu, and Hindi.
Oh, wow. And we couldn't get more showings of the other movies.
I know. I was like, why is
ridiculous.
it? It had showings in all 3 languages. I did not get to watch that, but that was so I could be better, be here, talk to you guys.
Well, later in the show, I'm going to be telling you about Maxxine and Longlegs. So, check that out. Vince over on Twitch, he says, Bo is going to need that Pedialyte from throwing up after Longlegs.
Yeah, did it make everyone in the theater just hurl up their guts?
Spoiler alert, false advertising. But we're going to talk about that later in the program. So stick around for my thoughts on Longlegs here after the middle part of the show, after we get to the news and the new releases. But speaking of news... let's jump in. We want to start with some saddies.
Yeah, we can get that stuff out of the way.
Well, a lot of people passed away this week, but one of the big ones that hit the news, Shannon Daugherty, everybody knows her. She was in 90210. She, Brenda Walsh. Everybody knows Brenda Walsh. She was in Charmed, and she's probably in other stuff that somebody watched, but I didn't. But she was struggling with breast cancer for a really long time, and died at the age of 53 this week, which is way too soon, and that's a big bummer. She made a huge splash with 90210, and wasn't she also in Heathers? I'm pretty sure she was in Heathers, which is a really, really good movie if you've never seen it.
I've watched it like once.
It's really good.
Long ago. But as some of our viewers point out, she was in Mallrats.
Oh, that's right. She was in Mallrats. I totally forgot Mallrats.
With Arkansas. Is she from Arkansas or just lives here? The Amy from Chasing Amy and Mallrats.
Yeah, she does live here. I've worked on a movie with her before.
Yeah.
Chased the old Chasing
Joey
Amy.
Lauren Adams,
Joey Lauren Adams, and she actually does talk like that. That's her real voice. She's kind of like, and that's probably a really bad. I'm sorry, Joey, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but she has a very strange voice. But she's really nice, and yeah, she was living in Little Rock for a really long time. I don't know if she. I mean, after COVID, a lot of things changed. I don't know if she's still there, but up until COVID, she was. Anyway, yeah, that was sad news. What do you got? You got any sad news?
Shelley Duvall passed too.
That's right. That was this past week. I felt like it was last week, but yeah, Shelley Duvall. Definitely everybody knows her from some of the big movies she was in, but she was such a cool lady, off screen.
I saw things where Stephen King and some other people that worked with her all like, yeah, she was underused talent. Suburban Commando, Velvet Santa, yeah. So, and then there was someone else, and I can't seem to remember.
You didn't write any of your notes?
Yeah, hey, like I said, I've been asleep if I haven't been at work since
Donald Trump
Tuesday.
Died this week. Dr. Ruth. That's
one that I
the
saw.
other one. Yeah, Dr. Ruth. I mean, she was old. She was already. And Richard Simmons. That's right. God, how do we forget Richard Simmons?
That was this past week?
Wait, no. John Lovitz? Someone in the chat just said John Lovitz.
No,
I hope you're kidding.
That can't be real.
Don't tease me and derail the show like that, because if John Lovitz...
No, he's still alive.
Okay, that was not even funny.
I didn't get to see him when he was here. I need to do that.
It was good. It was a good show. It didn't stink, but
The critic, yeah.
But yeah, Richard Simmons. That makes me wonder.
Geez.
Yeah,
that was holy
Richard
crap.
Simmons.
What about the Pauly Shore movie?
That's what I was wondering, if the Pauly Shore movie where he plays Richard Simmons is actually going to happen or not. So I immediately, as soon as I heard the news about Richard Simmons, I went to Pauly Shore's Twitter. And to see, and Pauly Shore of course made a statement, because Richard Simmons wasn't too excited about Pauly Shore playing him in a movie. He was like, I didn't give anybody permission for this.
But I think if anyone's going to play Richard Simmons, Pauly Shore's probably a good choice, in that he would
wheezing to the oldies. Yeah,
I would think that Richard Simmons would be excited about something like that, because he was always so positive about everything, even when people were making him like the butt of their jokes in front of him. He was usually pretty good sport about it, especially all of his appearances on like Letterman, where he would just lay into him. He always tried to be pretty decent sport about it.
Oh yeah, I mean you'd have to. He just seemed like a really chill homie. And have you ever seen the more recent pictures? He's all like tatted up and stuff. And
what?
yeah, dude. He's got like neck tats and all this kind of stuff.
No.
Yeah, seriously. Have you not? Here, I'm gonna pull up a. Let's see. How do you spell his name?
Richard Simmons?
No, is it? Oh, with the Simmons. Okay, not like a weird funky spelling.
But, that picture.
Wait, hang on. Let me see if I can find yeah, here we go. See these neck tats?
What?
Yeah, check it out. Here, we'll pull it up on screen. Yeah. Like rad arm and neck tats, and
wow.
Just looking like a total boss, man.
Okay, that's whack.
Yeah, dude, Richard Simmons was awesome. But sweating to the oldies. faux show. Anyway, yeah, that was all sad stuff, but we should move on from sad stuff and talk about some fun news. You got some fun news, like Shrek 5 officially coming in 2026. The whole cast is returning.
Well, we already kind of got that with Eddie Murphy interview a couple weeks ago, though, right? We kind of, oh no, he said Shrek 5, but it hadn't been like officially announced, but he said that the donkey standalone. So we got like a little touch of that Shrek 5 was happening. But also we're getting a donkey movie too.
I don't know if I need that. But also Severance Season 2 teaser hit, confirming that we are actually getting another season. It's coming in next year. For those of you guys that are a fan, one of our viewers like twisted my arm to watch it and ended up loving the show. But then unfortunately they're like, well, we're never going to make another one for fucking ever. And it's like, thanks for getting me hooked on a show that I'll never know when the next season comes out. But it's coming soon. 3 years after the first season.
Hey, there was seasons of Game of Thrones where we had to wait that long.
That's true. Oof. I hate waiting that long. Did you see the news about Michael Bay's first Netflix show? And it's a
Michael Bay's making a show.
It's a fantasy series called Barbaric, and it's based on the Vault comic of the same name, but it's starring some Sam Claflin, but who gives a shit? But the other lead character is Patrick Stewart, voicing this talking axe. So it's a demonic talking axe that this guy has, and Patrick Stewart is the voice of the axe. And I'm sold. Like, I'm just absolutely sold.
Well, I'll have to look more into that and see about it. But that reminds me, tomorrow and Wednesday is Amazon Prime Day, and one of the deals that I've seen previewed or something that's on sale right now is a Patrick Stewart box set, a Star Trek Patrick Stewart box set that has everything Patrick Stewart has done in Star Trek.
So it's all like TNG, then Generations, then Picard.
Yeah, it's all TNG.
What about like 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine?
I don't know if he was ever in an episode of Deep Space Nine. I think Deep Space Nine was in TNG, but I don't think he was ever in an episode of DS9. Riker was.
I thought it was like in the first 1 or 2 where it showed like Cisco why he was pissed off at Picard.
No,
and I thought Picard visited the station and Cisco was like, "Fuck you, you son of a bitch! You're when my wife is dead."
That was in an episode of TNG, I think. But it has all 7 seasons of TNG. It has all 4 of the next gen movies, and then it has 3 seasons of Picard, and then a bunch of bonus features and stuff like that. They only made like 1,604 copies of this or something like that. It's normally like $250, but it's like $100 off. So if you want everything Patrick Stewart Star Trek, that's a thing that's available. Yeah, because Patrick Stewart's super rad.
He is super rad. Well, that sounds pretty damn cool. Other things that sound pretty okay.
No, but Santa says Picard was in the pilot episode.
Okay, well, I mean that's close enough because like the end of TNG and that like they overlapped a little bit, like because they were airing at the same time, and so they had some overlap as one season ended and the other started. But what was I going to talk about? I don't think I had any other big news I wanted to talk about. I mean, there was a Netflix Terminator Zero trailer that came out that was kind of cool.
I didn't see that. I did see the trailer for Substance.
Oh,
did you see that?
Since we were talking about that one,
body horror and Cronenberg stuff at the beginning of the of show or before the show started here. Yeah, it's new. It has Demi Moore in it, and it's like if you could take some sort of drug and become like a younger you, would you do it? And then it's just like it has like a really weird. Just it's all like crazy body horror and it gets
grow like
weird.
An 8th toe.
Yeah, it doesn't show much. There was a clip of it released a couple months back, but this is like the trailer, and it has Dennis Quaid and it just being weird as hell.
Quaid,
different Quaid, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, body horror is a different genre altogether from like normal horror, and I watch quite a bit of stuff that falls into that category just because like weird practical effects can be a lot of fun on screen.
Well, practical effects in general are a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's out there. We do still have a little bit of sad news to go.
Are we talking about Horizon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to mention that before we got out of the news. Horizon Chapter 2 being pulled from theatrical release, which I kind of was like, hey, what's going to happen if it doesn't do well? And are they going to continue to show it in theaters? The answer was no. They're like, well.
So, and the reasoning they gave is that they've removed its Part 2's theatrical release. It has an unknown delay period, and that is to give audiences more of a chance to watch Part 1. Now,
So is it hitting streaming like yesterday?
I don't know. And that was part of my review and stuff when I've talked about this on the show, is that the way that Part 1 ends, just completely like sequel bait ending where there's no resolutions and everything, was justifiable because you knew that Part 2 was going to be coming out in a month. Yeah, you're like, well, I got to wait a month. I can go watch Part 2, and now we don't know when we're going to get Part 2. So allowing more time for it to sink in or
Which
let
is stupid
audiences
because it's
see
out
it.
there. It's out there. Just do it.
It's already out there. They already have like the distribution figured out and stuff like this. What are they going to do in its spot? Probably nothing.
Tax write-offs, man.
Yeah, so that
It was
kind
a
of
hoax. It was scammed.
that kind of stinks.
Planned
'cause
it from the beginning.
I really thought Part 1 would gain some traction with a Part 2 being released only a month apart, and then the rest, all of us that saw Part 1 and have been waiting, need that, and now I'm going to have to wait until who knows when to have any idea about what happened with any of the 4 or 5 stories that are going on in it and the characters there, so that sucks. It sucks for Kevin Costner. It sucks for everyone involved in the production. I'm sure producers and stuff outside of him, but it really sucks for us in the audience that now don't get to know when we get to know the ending. We know that there's already 3 other movies recorded, ready to go, and now we don't know when we get to see them, and that stinks. You're talking about a show that they haven't made yet. This is something that they've made. It's in the can. Don't make me wait on it.
Like Batgirl.
Well, no one cares about that really, or Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, I would have watched Wile E. Coyote.
A lot of people
I was,
want that.
I was ready for that.
I've seen where people said that they've watched it and they're like, why don't they release this? This is a good movie.
Dude, you know, I've always wanted a business card like Wile E. Coyote, because all his business card says it's just his name, and it says super genius underneath it. And so my business card I designed much in the same fashion. It doesn't actually have my title at all. It just has my name on it really big. And I was like, yeah, just like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
And that was always a very, very important thing that I wanted. When I grow up, I want to have a business card like Wile E. Coyote, which means I'll never grow up. Anyway, yeah. Do you have any other news, or we can just jump into?
Well, other sad news is that Redbox is officially dead, right? So
Wait, what?
Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit last week, didn't we?
There's a Redbox like at the grocery store.
Not anymore.
What?
Yeah, Redbox.
So we should have just like ran a grocery cart into it and like took all the loot out, and no one would have cared.
Yeah.
How did I miss that? I've been
Chapter
really busy this
7 liquidation is on its one of the last bastions of physical media. Blah blah blah. But it's done, man. Did you know that Redbox has been around since 20? It's been around for 22 years.
Holy shit! Whoa! What?
I had no idea it'd been around that long. I remember it being in double odds, but I don't remember it being 22 years.
Redbox.
But yeah, it's shutting down, man. So 22 years of service.
And Vince over on Twitch also said, and Crackle is also going away too. It's the same company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, so Sony owned Redbox, or just the company that did Redbox distribution did that for Sony?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. How are we supposed to watch old Godzilla movies without paying dollars? How am I going to watch Joe Dirt 2?
How you gonna get them screaming memes, them poo runners, them poppy pops, them?
Well, other wild things here. Bette Midler is really pushing for Disney to get on the ball about Hocus Pocus 3.
No.
Yeah, she's like...
Just the only magic that needs to happen is making that shit disappear.
Well, so it was already kind of being planned, and it was set to release in 2026. But Bette Midler's like, I ain't going to live forever. We need to do this now. So...
No.
Yeah.
Just
so
no.
They're like, maybe Disney will expedite it because Bette Midler
Bette
ain't going to live
Midler
forever.
said so.
And then...
we are the dollars beneath her
talking
wings.
about third movies here, Young Guns 3. In an interview on the Inside of You podcast, Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, which has a lot of good interviews on there.
Wait, Young Guns 3?
Yeah. So Lou Diamond Phillips was on Inside of You, and he was asked
He's
about
like, yeah,
it.
me and Emilio Estevez were hanging out at Dunkin' Donuts. And
Something like that.
We were just like, you know what would be great is if someone put us in a movie again, and it was Young Guns. They're not young. That's
They've
like
talked about this
geriatric
This
guns.
has been being talked about for a while, but so Michael Rosenbaum asked Lou Diamond Phillips, he's like, would you do a Young Guns 3?
Of
if they approached
course.
you?
Why
and
would
he
they not?
said, yeah, of course I would, because I already said that I would. We signed up for it, and he said it got as far as like Emilio Estevez, like doing location scouting and stuff like this.
Of course,
But-
he's doing location scouting because no one else is going to do it.
But it's on pause because they're having trouble getting some of the cast.
They're having trouble getting people to give a shit. You know, what was...
Dude, Young Guns 1 and 2 is
Are they going to get Bon Jovi back to, you know, write another song for it?
in a blaze of glory.
Take me down, moon blue. Pretty sure Bon Jovi was wearing Native American like tribal gear in that video, which is totally not cool to do anymore if we want to pull that video clip up.
It was in the 90s. So.
Yeah, but it was still culturally appropriative,
Yeah.
Mr. Bon.
Anyhow, so that's a thing that's may still happen here in the future. Alec Baldwin has been officially his case got dismissed for Rust.
Good.
Yeah, since we're here on this western.
That was we talked about that a long time ago, and that was just not fair because for a gun to get to his hands, he is an actor worried about the scene, not worrying about the weapon. They have prop masters and weapon masters and stunt trainers and stunt coordinators and insurance agents and DPs and PAs and all of that shit. Like it should have.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild that he was ever brought into it as the actor because for it to get into his hands, it had to go through how many people?
It's too many people.
So, but yeah, his case was officially dismissed, so he's now free of having to worry about that any longer.
Good. I was on the side of his from the get-go because it's just that, you know, that's the chain of command, man.
Yeah, I mean, it should never reach an actor's hand with any kind of live ammunition in it. That's crazy because, there's people who's like literally that is
their
their
only
job. Yeah, that is. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 people like that's their
one job. Like
only job.
Weapons masters are a division of the props department, and weapon masters, it is their job to lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrel every gun. Like it needs to be in a safe, it needs to be outfitted, it needs to only be carried by certain people, it needs to be checked, it needs to be everything, because that's your one job. It's like when they have trained animals on set, they don't go, well, you know, he didn't know how to train the dog, so blah blah. Well, it's not his job. That dog should have been trained before it got to set. And you know, it's just stupid that whole thing was the case. But the reason why it was is because he was famous, and you sue him, he's got more money than whatever weapons master that probably lives in a trailer outside of Santa Monica, underneath the Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
You know.
Dina says the first trial showed how incompetent they were. I remember us talking about like the police investigation on set and about how incompetent it was, and like they were going through the ammo boxes and things, and there was like live rounds and non-live rounds and movie rounds and then just empty shells, and like they were all just piled together, and like the amount of people who had access to getting to that was just not.
It was more people than at a Trump rally. Just too many people had access to guns.
So, yeah, that's good for Alec Baldwin. And then the last little bit I had here is great news.
Great news.
Minions 3 has its release date set because with the success of Despicable Me 4,
therefore we need a Minions 3. We got to keep them coming in. Like as soon as a 5 comes, we need a 4. When there's a 6 comes, we need a 5.
So the exact quote in this article here is, the success of Despicable Me 4 in theaters proves that audience interest in the franchise remains high. And setting a new Minions movie up for success. So its release date is set for June 30th, 2027. Mark your calendars.
And they don't even they don't need a plot. They're just like, whatever. We already have all the renderings. We already have the CGI, like booty cheeks and the overalls. We already got hundreds of hours of people going, me, 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 and we're set. Like, that's it. They could probably tell an AI bot to make a Minions 3 movie, and I'm sure it would just clip together stuff from the other like 5 movies.
Yeah, it is crazy that like it's going to take them 3 years to make that happen. I can't imagine that they don't just have all those models set in a computer where they can just say go. It's not like they need to have it be any higher resolution than what it is now or anything like that. Vince says if he had to guess that he would say that Minions is on part 5. I am also very surprised that Despicable Me is only on 4 and Minions will now only be on 3. There's other movies in there. Yeah, there's other ones.
There's like a Gru, Baby Gru, Rise of Gru.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep up with this shit. It is so mind-numbing.
And then, something else like that. Tyler Perry's new movie. This is something.
Medea's Minions?
No, Divorce in the Black. It actually has a 0% Rotten
Which
Tomatoes
means
score.
Everyone's going to go see it. Like, it's one of those things. If it gets an absolute 0, then everybody's going to go, well, I got to see it now to see how bad it is.
That's the critic score. So critics are giving it an absolute 0. Audiences are giving a 54. But it does seem that maybe audiences aren't quite as apt to just make everything Tyler Perry a success. So that's something.
I don't audience scores. I don't trust them. I mean,
yeah, we know that they're horsecrap, but normally it's like, Medea and the Minions, Halloween 17, it would be like 80% or something. So.
All right. Well, okay. Well, getting caught up in the chat. Movie Albert over on Twitch just caught up and said they saw Longlegs today. Did not like it. I'm about to talk about Longlegs here in just a moment once we tell you what's coming out in theaters this weekend. So you want to jump into the new releases this week? Yeah. There's only one big one that we need to talk about that's coming out in theaters, set to be a box office blowaway. Twisters, the follow-up that somehow one person asked for, and we're getting it. Not one, but 2 Twisters. It's twins! And just, it's like in the third Twisters, they're going to go through like a jetpack factory, and it's just going to be tornadoes with jetpacks. And
we've talked about that third movie's
jetpacks. Got to throw some jetpacks in. Or like, it's like, Tornado Terry, he's a storm chaser, and he gets on his jetpack and he flies into the heart of the tornado. Yeehaw! And then and then he gets in there with his backpack and like pulls a ripcord on all those little like buzzy boos go.
That would be cool. He's like a real life Pecos Bill.
Yeah, he's like he's the grandson of Bill Paxton, and he like goes, "Game over, man!" And he like flies in, and everyone's like, "No, Tornado Terry!" And
how about that? Yeah, since we talked about Dennis Quaid earlier, now we're talking about Pecos Bill,
dude,
wrestling tornadoes. Look at that; it's all connected because you remember that movie, Tall Tales,
the Twisterverse. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. So Twister's coming out in theaters this week. We're probably gonna go see it. Everybody's gonna go see it. It's a movie about tornadoes, dude. And how could that? Everybody's seen one. Well, not everybody's seen one. If you live in the South, you gotten pretty damn close to one.
I was about to say, if you live in our area here recently, actually, you can still walk into businesses and they're like, "Do you want to donate to tornado relief?"
See some damage, but that movie, Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, that's set to make a lot of money. People are gonna go see it. Honestly, a movie like this is a theater movie. You've got, hopefully you go into a theater that has the stereo dialed in and everything's going. It should be a pretty fun experience in a theater, because that's what kind of made the first one so much fun, is seeing it in the theater, feeling that, like, how close do you really get to a tornado?
We watched it at the drive-in, I remember.
Oh, that was a good movie.
And
the drive-in
comedy
scene.
Cow. There was the comedy cow.
And I've been to Universal Studios as well, and the Twister walkthrough experience was really, really cool. So Twister's coming out in theater this week, and that's pretty much it. There's a lot of movies already out right now, and we're gonna talk about them right now. I think I'll start with MaXXXine, because it's already been out for this is the second week in release. So I feel like I'll start with that one, but yeah, let me jump into MaXXXine. So MaXXXine, of course, a part of Ty West's X trilogy. We had X in 2022, followed by Pearl, which also was released pretty much within the same year, but then we got MaXXXine now. Pearl was the prequel to X, and MaXXXine is the sequel to X, following the lead character played by Mia Goth, and Mia Goth played Pearl in the prequel Pearl, because in X the old lady was like, "You looked just like me when I was a girl," and then so Mia Goth played that character as well. And this movie takes place in 1985. It's set a handful of years after X, and Mia Goth playing Maxine Miller, which is a really hilarious name, because there's a famous bar here in town called Maxxine's, and the founder of that place was also named Maxine Miller, so it was a really weird thing. But she changes her name to Maxine Minx, and becomes an adult film star wanting to break into actual Hollywood roles. And this takes place in LA around the time of the Night Stalker murders, which is a real serial killer thing that happened in the 80s in LA. Really, really famous serial killer mystery that they tied the story of, there was this serial killer around, and Mia Goth's character kind of got intertwined in this sort of these culty kidnapping and murders.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
What?
Wasn't the Night Stalker, that was Richard Ramirez, though?
Yes.
He would like break into people's houses and stuff. How did they make that?
So it was going on at the time, and they're like, oh, these murders, the Night Stalker murders. So by the end of the movie, I'm not going to totally spoil the end of the movie. It leaves it ambiguous as if this person was the actual Night Stalker, or just it was happening alongside of it. So they're like, are these related to the Night Stalker murders? Okay. So that person was like using...
There's a second killer out there.
Yeah, okay. And it was like, hey, there's another killer out there. We can use this as a way to, kill more people and maybe go unnoticed. But I actually liked this movie a little bit better than I liked X. I thought it was a really good sequel. I didn't like Pearl so much, but I thought this one was really good. I've heard other people say that this was their least favorite. I think this was kind of my most favorite, and mainly because... I've watched a lot of movies in my life, and I'm also kind of a horror fan, and a lot of people, especially the target audience for this movie that they're selling it to, is not familiar with giallo horror. And a giallo is like an Italian style, think the movies from like Suspiria and Zombie and all of these crazy Italian style, like leather glove having Mario Bava like murders with knives and Technicolor deep red blood. Yeah, as Al over on Twitch said, the deep reds and these super high contrasty colors and things that almost look really fake, like close-ups of people's faces and they're getting a knife in the eye, and it looks hokey but in a gross out sense. And if you've seen some of those and you enjoy that genre, MaXXXine is a lot of fun because it felt very much like one of those movies without being a parody of one of those movies. And Ty West did a really, really good job of kind of through each of these movies stylistically finding the genres of which he was wanting to pay homage to. And I thought it was really well done. The music was on the money. Mia Goth's performance was fantastic. It had a really great supporting cast, but it was really the Mia Goth show. And Zimmerhammer said over on Twitch, said it was a predictable but fun ride, lots of homages to classic horror. And that's the thing. It was very predictable. There wasn't like a big twist. I mean, they kind of tried to do one, but it wasn't that big of a twist. But it was just a fun movie. You know, it wasn't scary. It wasn't overly gory. It was just kind of a fun revenge, like this final girl that we've seen this journey from. She's kind of embraced, like, well, if nobody's going to do anything about it, I'm going to do something about it because I'm a boss bitch. And that moment of like, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm going to go out and be the master of my own destiny. And, you know, you can't stop me. And it was cool. And Mia Goth sells it. You know, she's just got an air about her, a swagger to her performance as this character that was really believable. And to carry, you know, a trilogy from like the 50s to the 70s to the 80s, I thought was really cool. And as a trilogy, it's kind of weak, but as 3 standalone movies that are very loosely connected, it works. You know, it's not one of those things that I think you need to watch back to back to back. I think watching them in sequential order would be better, like Pearl, then X, then Maxxine, mainly because just Pearl felt weird, like as a middle movie to Maxxine, because you had to kind of go back and remember a lot from X. But overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was a fun ride. And truth be told, I liked it a whole lot better than Longlegs, which I'm going to be talking about next. So did you see any of that, the X trilogy?
No. Like, horror's not really my thing. You know, we all kind of know that. I like the more goofy and silly versions of it. You know, Nightmare on Elm Street.
There was a pretty
Critters.
goofy and silly like ball stomp that she did on this one guy. And this guy tried to like get her in the alley. And she had a gun, and he's like, "What are you gonna do, bitch?" And she like turns around with a gun. He's like, "Oh no, wait a minute, ma'am, don't." And she's like, "Take your clothes off, strip naked." And he's like, "Oh, whatever you say." And she's like, "Lay down on the ground," and lays down on the ground. She said something like, "You know what happened to the last guy that tried to like hurt me?" And I can't remember the line, but then she like stomps on his nutsack, and it just goes, and he's like, "Ah!"
She had already won. Why did she have to do that?
She's teaching him a lesson. You know,
Okay,
she wasn't going to murder the dude because that would be manslaughter.
Oh, that's
But,
worse.
Yeah.
Velvet Santa says, "I've seen the Triple X trilogy." That's true. I have. I've seen those movies. I talked about the most recent Triple X on this show whenever that came out.
Bam! State of the Union.
Is that what it was called?
I think that was the
something
last
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
All right. Well, also, which I saw this past weekend, I saw Longlegs, directed by and written by Oz Perkins. The internet and all of the advertising was just like, hold on to your freaking butts. Your brain is gonna melt out your ears. Never since Silence of the Lambs and 7 and 8 millimeter have you ever been mind fucked like Longlegs. So buckle up, sons of bitches. You know, and everybody's going, "Oh my God, can I even handle?" They're like, people are throwing up in the theater. It's the most disgusting and disturbing thing you've ever seen. It was boring.
There was probably someone sick in the test audience, and they're trying to hold it together, and they're like, "Oh, they got thrown up."
No, this movie was such a letdown. You know, and I feel like the hype is what killed it for me. Were there parts of this movie? Did I enjoy this movie? Sure. Because you got to see Nicolas Cage reprise his roles from Vampire's Kiss and Bad Lieutenant, you know, Port of New Orleans or whatever the sub-caption of that. Just absolute batshit insane Nicolas Cage. And as Movie Albert just said on Twitch, Longlegs was written by someone who wrote with crayons. Yes, you know, the first 2 acts were really, really sleepy and slow and trying to set up this sort of like paranormal serial killer, like get you kind of sold. And the 3rd act was Nicolas Cage being like, "Cuckoo, cuckoo, hail Satan," you know, and just doing what Nicolas Cage does, like going, "Yeah," and singing and doing all this kind of stuff, which is fun, but it just did not fit what I wanted this movie to be. And then by the end, you know, what I like in serial killer thriller movies like Silence of the Lambs, like Bone Collector, like Seven, like, even Saw, if we're going to go there, is it's a cop or a detective that is getting to, or true detective, which season 1 was a really good example of this, getting really close to a murder, but this person is so deranged and out there really killing people that it becomes sort of real, like this could happen, and that's what makes those things real, because serial killers are real. But this one started to lean too far into the paranormal to the point where it was paranormal, and then you get Nicolas Cage doing, like Nicolas Cage Insanity at the end, which became kind of a comedy show that it just lost any of that spooky sort of detective noir thriller whodunit that it built up in the first 2 acts. And I wish that it would have either been one or the other, like either be crazy Nick Cage running around killing people and being Longlegs and making evil demonic murder dolls, or just be a spooky thing where this guy is just crazy and cuts up people and turns them into dolls, like what's the Waxworks or whatever, or Maniac. Maniac's a really good example. That guy, if you've ever seen the remake with what's his name, Frodo Baggins, Elijah Wood. He is it's a remake of an old 1980s, famous for being in first person, really, really great. One of the few where the remake is better than the original, and it's about this guy. He is a mannequin maker, and he kills girls and like turns them into mannequins, and he's just crazy and doesn't say anything. It's like, but then the Elijah Wood one is really good because it kind of gives him a bit of a human character. This was just Nick Cage and Satan, hail Satan, he says a whole bunch of time. But yeah, Longlegs, super disappointing, man. Like, was not spooky, was not unsettling, was not unnerving, didn't throw up, didn't, and it was one of those movies, like, even a really spooky movie, I'll go home and, I don't get spooked out, but, like, I'll turn the light on and, you might close your eyes and think about it for a second, but I didn't, like, when I was done, I didn't care. I just went home and went to bed and just went honk-shoed until morning. Let's see. House of Wax. That was another one. They dipped the real bodies in wax. That was an old Vincent Price movie, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. I think that's in public domain right now, and you can probably watch that on YouTube. But yeah, okay, Longlegs, man. It didn't have legs, especially not for and Neon. It's making all of this money. Like, everyone's like, oh man, it's one of the biggest like horror openings that's ever Neon's ever done. Like, get ready for this, guys, because more money equals good quality. So when you see news like this, it's going to it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes as of probably before anyone saw it. It just didn't, man. Flickering Myth, a goddamn scary must see. No, it wasn't any of those things. 4 stars by Slash Film. A bunch of idiots.com. Masterpiece. Who got paid to write these reviews? Sorry, I'm looking at the trailer here. Unforgettable, mesmerizing, the scariest film of the decade. Like, get out of here with this crap. No, it wasn't. Don't waste your time. I mean, you can watch the clips of Nicolas Cage in this movie probably in like 4 weeks on YouTube, and that's all you need to see. Anyway, Velvet Santa says, I am sorry that the film was bad and depressed. You think I need to pick me up from the good box? I will hit that. Yeah, we'll hit that here in just in a little bit. Ali Sparkman said they genuinely just had some really good marketing. Yeah, they had some amazing marketing. I was bummed out by it. But Longlegs in theaters right now. You can check that out. You can check out MaXXXine. I honestly would say see MaXXXine instead if you're wanting to see, of all the horror movies that are currently in theaters, you've got Longlegs, A Quiet Place, and MaXXXine. I think MaXXXine is the one to see, even though it's the one that's making the least amount of money. It is by far the best of the 3 that are out right now. Also, Fly Me to the Moon came out this week. Did not get a chance to see that, but reviews of that are coming back, kind of lackluster as well. So, yeah. Velvet Santa on Twitch asks, which one would you take a 4-year-old to? Honestly, they'd probably be pretty entertained by Longlegs because Nicolas Cage is pretty hilarious, and there are dolls and stuff. Vince asks on Twitch, was Quiet Place by far the worst? I feel like Quiet Place was by far the most unnecessary. At least with Longlegs, they were doing some semblance of an original story. You know, it was like, hey, it's part 1 of maybe a franchise of 100 if people go see this one. You know, Quiet Place was a third installment of a movie that no one asked for, that did not propel that narrative at all anywhere. Maxxine, on the other hand, was a third of a planned trilogy that kind of put a pretty bow around a narrative that was already planned, and it stuck the landing. So yeah, definitely I think Quiet Place day one, which made the most amount of money of all of them, was by far the worst. Movie Albert said, after Longlegs was over, I peeked into a Bollywood movie, Jake. It looked good.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, if it was Indian too, the trailer for that looked really, really fun. I don't know what language Indian 2 was filmed in, but the trailer for it looked good. You know, some really, really old dude who's like a general in the military going into different scenarios and just beating people up with pressure point punches.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like Fist of the North Star.
Kind of, yeah. He would twist his fingers and it would show him like punch people on their nerves and like just rack their bodies and stuff. And then it would go to like a scene that looked like Patton, where he's just in this general's uniform telling people what the deal is. And then the trailer would show him just more like getting more people. And I was like, that actually looks pretty rad.
So have you seen part 1?
No.
Is there a part 1?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I need to find that out because the trailer for this one does look cool. I mean, there's times where like an Indian movie will just have a number in the title and it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a sequel.
Yeah, just like Indian 5. And you're like, okay, cool. What does that mean? Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, that's what's going on in theaters right now. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake for the box office roundup for the last weekend, July 12th through 14th. We're going to give you the domestic totals, a little bit of worldwide numbers for the ones that apply, but we're going to give you the top 10 movies in the U.S. And the reason we do this is because if you follow the numbers, you can follow the sequels. You know what's making money. You know what they're going to put their chips on next. So always follow the money. So actually, do you want to start with number 11?
I do. Yeah, I did want to do that. So at number 11 is The Lion King, original animated movie, not the live action, aka CGI animated movie, but the original hand drawn, opened to $1 million on its re-release.
It did not. I mean, technically, per theater average was pretty low on this one. It was only about 793 per
I
theater.
hadn't seen any ads for it. I didn't know it was there until I looked at the movie listings. I was like, we could go watch The Lion King.
No idea either until I was at the theater.
Thinking about it now, I should have went and watched it. If I was going to go to a movie, I should have went and watched it just to be able to hear everything in the theater again, because Jim Cummings' voice acting in The Lion King is so good. You know that half of the Be Prepared song was not sang by Jeremy Irons.
So he wasn't prepared at all.
He had gotten sick and everything. So Jim Cummings came in and he did half of that song. And there's actually a switch over in it that if you're really listening, you can find, but it's almost unnoticeable because Jim Cummings sounds almost identical to Jeremy Irons, and that's really cool. Jim Cummings is the voice of Winnie the Pooh, Tigger. He does Pete from Goofy, and he's a
very talented guy.
He did Ed, the hyena, and the Lion King, as well as one or two others, including half of the Be Prepared song. So, anyhow, seeing the Lion King in the theater would have been really cool just because the audio of the Lion King, I remember now, is really badass.
Yeah, Kuna Matata, dude.
Yeah, and then opening at number 10, Indian 2. We were just talking about the estimated $1.2 million brought in by that one. It was only in 525 theaters. Its theater average was like $2,300. So that's pretty dang good.
Yes.
That's good enough that it would have been higher on the list if it was in more theaters with more dollars. At number 9, Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot in its second week out from Angel Studios. 1.3 million brought in by that one, bringing it up to just under 10 million at 9.8. At number 8 in its second week out, the one you were just talking about, Maxxine, $2 million brought in by that one, so it's 2 weeks out, has brought in 11.8 million for that movie there. And at number 6, Bad Boys Ride or Die, dropping a spot down the list. 4.25. Oh wait, no, I skipped one. I totally skipped one. Number 7, Horizon.
Oh, Horizon. You said, well, everybody skipped that one, so it's okay.
Wow.
Hey-o.
Horizon Chapter 1, possibly the only one we're getting in the theaters. $2.2 million brought in by it in its third week. It's brought in about $27 million at the theater so far. Long ways to go for it. And then above it, Bad Boys Ride or Die. 4.2 brought in by that one in its sixth week out. 185 million here in the U.S. for Bad Boys. And then opening at the number 5 spot, like you said, lukewarm. The number 5 spot suits it. Fly Me to the Moon. $9.4 million brought in by that one.
I did want to see that, but didn't really get a chance there.
There's nothing about those trailers that's made me be like, yeah, I want to go watch this.
Well, other than the moon landing wasn't real, that. Hey.
Coming in at number 4, one of your favorite movies so far this year, A Quiet Place Day 1.
God, barf.
Brought in another $11.3 million. So in 3 weeks out, it's brought in $115.8 million, another 104 across the globe, $220 million so far for Quiet Place, the prequel.
Oh, yep, going back to the list.
Going back to the list here.
I'm multitasking, sorry.
At number 3, Inside Out 2. 5 weeks out from Disney, brought in another $20 million. $572 million in the U.S. alone for Inside Out 2.
Man, I mean, all the money.
Jesus. Another $777 million across the globe.
Yeah.
It's brought in $1.4 billion.
Breaking records.
And then just above it, opening at the number 2 spot, Longlegs, $22.4 million. That might be the only
because hype is real
dollars it gets.
Yeah.
It may have a big
when word gets out.
And then opening or staying at the top spot, Despicable Me 4, $43.6 million on it. Second week out has totaled $210 million. Jesus, man. Another 225 across the globe, $435
in 2 weeks. So almost $500 million in 2 weeks.
Dude, wow. Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me just coming in and being like, heard y'all want some kids movies, man.
Blam. Yeah, just 1-2 punching them. So, all right, guys. Well, that is your box office roundup for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. For those of you on Twitch, stick around a little bit after the show where Velvet Santa, one of our Twitch viewers, dropped us a goodie box off. We're gonna and he's labeled and numbered all of these things. We're gonna open up some of those.
Christmas in July.
A little Christmas in July. But for all of our other viewers and listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you want to get on this other extra content, don't forget to follow us over on Twitch or subscribe, which is even better. If you want to get into the Discord and follow our watch along, which is on August 7th, we're going to be watching The Cube, or just Cube. You can follow along on our Discord, driveinspeakerbox.com. It's got all of the links, all of the things. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Later.
As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.